And then he prayed again, and not fire in the regular sense. It was more like Star Wars fire. And it was like some kind of radiation came down and burnt the animal on the altar, burnt the stones on the altar, burnt the stones around the altar, and dried up all the water in 1 second. And everybody got freaked out. And they all said, Hashem hu Elohim, Hashem hu Elohim, Hashem is God. Okay, like, we got it. So he was really like, he really felt, see, do you understand? There's only one God. My whole life I've devoted to the fact there's only one God. And one God means that it's all there is one God. And don't ever forget it again. And don't ever think that there's any power in the world that's other than God. So then he goes up alone to be mitboded, to go alone and to go into a state of deep hitbodedut, deep self-isolation. And he curls up in a ball. There's two possible ways. There's one that it was a Mexican type style thing where his feet were on the ground and his buttocks were on the ground and he goes like this. The other one was he was on his knees and he went down into a yogic position. It's the embryonic position. One way or the other. He was totally curled up in the ball and he went down there 7 times. Each time he came up and he said to Elisha, go and see that there's a cloud off the coast of the Mediterranean. And Elisha came back each time and said, nothing, boss. And so by the 7th time he came back and said, there's a little cloud out there over the Haifa, within Haifa, over the Mediterranean, the size of a fist. And Eliyahu said, okay. And within moments, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it started to being rain for the first time in 3 years. And he sent the message to Achav, go down to Jericho, to Izebel, and tell your wife what has been done in Israel today. But the strange thing is, he wasn't satisfied with that. He ran in front of the chariot of Achav from Haifa to Jericho. That's like Don Juan couldn't do that. This is not normal. Eliyahu Navi put on a loincloth. He was like an incredible man. It says here that he's sitting up in the tree of life. I could see him like a little elf. You know, he can change sizes. He can change beard. He can have a beard sometimes. He can have a jalaba sometimes. He can have whatever. He's just always in disguises. He's the master of disguises, Eliyahu Navi. And so he ran. And also he's the master over the physical plane. This is not normal running. It's not normal fire. He's running in front of the chariot of Achav, a front runner. And he gets down to Jericho. And he's there with Izebel and Achav. And she says to him, so thus have your gods done today, Eliyahu. And so can they do tomorrow. But no, so something like that. But tomorrow you're dead. And he was so crestfallen. Like, oh God, she can distort anything. She's like the media in Israel. They can you got something good happen, and then the next day it's being distorted, right? And it's like almost inevitable that's going to happen. But he was so hurt, so he went all the way down to Horeb. He went all the way down to Sinai Desert, and he went into the cave that Moshe had been in, where he had been told to be in the crevice of the rock. When God passed by, he put his hand over the crevice in the rock, and then he took his hand away. It's all symbolic, but Moshe saw the back of God's tefillin. Again, symbolic. I don't want to go into it right now. I can, but just the symbols right now. That Moshe had a very powerful experience on Mount Sinai after the golden calf. That's next week. And he prayed, and Hashem said, okay, I'll show you myself. But you can't see me completely and live, but you can only see my back. That whole thing there. So Eliyahu went to that same cave. And he asked to die. Actually, on the way he asked to die, but he was told in Beersheba he already asked to die, and Hashem said, get up, you're going to Horeb. And he gave him enough to eat in one day that he was able to go for 40 days. It was on a very high level. He was able to go to 40 days and walk all the way down to Sinai. And when he got there, he went into the cave. And Hashem said, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? Ma'ata po Eliyahu? Ma'ata po Eliyahu? It's like everything is like in many levels, but the simple meaning is, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? And he says, I've given up. I can't stand these people anymore. They've destroyed your altars. They've killed your prophets. They've nullified your covenant. I don't want any more to be involved with these people. I'm quitting. So Hashem says, go out of the cave and stand on the cliff. And then I'll see what you say after that. So then Hashem brought what's called the vision of the chariot to Eliyahu. He saw exactly what Ezekiel saw later, but Eliyahu was before. And so it's a higher level than Ezekiel. He saw the four things that Ezekiel later saw. Not exactly, without looking in the book, I can't tell you, but it's like the earth shook. He saw flashing lightning, and the wind blew, and it was like very powerful physical experiences. And then he heard the still small voice, the kol divamadaka, which is the experience of divinity. The Vir is the experience of pure divinity. And now Hashem said to him, the same verse, Ma tapo Eliyahu, what are you doing here, Eliyahu? And he said the same thing that he said the time before. They've destroyed your altars, they've killed your prophets, they've nullified your covenant, and I want out. So he was serious. And so there's a cloud, there's a principle with prophets. And you got to prepare. You got to know the principles of prophecy. Is that when you talk to God, you got to speak on behalf of your people, and speak kindly on behalf of our people. Laman achai v're'ai, for the sake of my brothers and friends, I will speak of peace. Because, they're human, and they make mistakes. And that's what a prophet is supposed to do. Then he turns to his people, he's supposed to be tough on them. And say, Laman beit Hashem Elokeinu, abak shatovach. For the sake of the house of our God, I'm going to talk to you good. And good is like when a father spanks his kid. This is good for you. It's like, it's called standing the breach. When you turn one way, you speak one way. And when you turn the other way, you speak another way. But Eliyahu got mixed up. He started complaining to God about Am Yisrael. And that's when he didn't even ask to lose his job. Like, that's when you lose your job as a prophet. You can't be a prophet and complain about the world. It's because God knows how hard it is down here. He wants somebody to speak on our behalf and tell him how hard it is. Ever since then, he has two jobs. He has to come to every Brit Milah because he told God, we nullified the covenant. Wow. So nullified the covenant, you're going to go to every Brit Milah circumcision. Also, and Leil Seder, but also he's the communicator. He's called the Mevaser. Mevaser means to communicate, to herald, to announce. Levaser.